Hi, tonight we're going to talk about ecstasy is beyond mind. Ecstasy is the energy of the spirit that comes when we are the most alive, but beyond the mind, so we are not conscious of being so alive. It is not reaching a summit, the peak, and that is the end, because it is a natural flow that does not end. So we are in ecstasy or in its awareness. It is with us our whole life, but we are in the mind dealing with mental and physical problems and existence. But every once in a while, our mind is suspended and the chatter stops. Then we are not lost in thinking because the mind is the body falling away. So we have a spiritual awakening beyond the mind, where God does not have to fix, purify, or forgive us. That is just our mental hang-ups that we drop to dive into ecstasy because we can't get in with guilt or negative thoughts. To discover our true self in bliss, we don't need to think about what we don't like about ourselves. It is our choice. We can choose ecstasy or the horrors of life to define and guide or confuse us. Ecstasy is from the soul, so we can't put into words, but it is a sign that we are on the right path, where even white people want to dance. It is our birthright, so we just need to accept and not expect, because it is natural, uncomplicated, and effortless. When we stop striving and achieving, life becomes ecstasy and stops being something we have to do. It is not a job, business, or quest. Ecstasy is the zeal, vigor, and zest of creativity and consciousness, where we have fewer disappointments and enjoy more as we bloom in the moment. Living life does not have to be awful. It can be ecstasy, because all we have to do is calm our mind and let life flow. Then ecstasy becomes a natural course as we glide in a steady movement from one thing to another. Carl Sagan said, "Understanding is a kind of ecstasy." Leo Tolstoy said, "A man is never such an egoist as at the moment of spiritual ecstasy. At such times, it seems to him that there is nothing on earth more splendid and interesting than himself." Emily Dickinson said, "Find ecstasy in life. The mere sense of living is joy enough." Ecstasy is within us. It is not out there in the material world, because it flowers and grows from the soul. So what we are searching for is inside us and is us. That is why people all call ecstasy a spiritual experience. But it gives us the means and artistry to create happiness out of objects found in everyday life. Because as we go deeper, so do our ecstatic, sensual experiences. It is not just happiness, but a love that intensifies life, warm-heartedness, and concern for the world and everything in it. It happens by grace and gives us a taste of our unrealized potential future. So it is a call to be present. Excuse me. My dog. He wants to be held. So it is a call to be present and aware, to discover more aesthetic experiences that come from being present. Our mind will trick us to go back to believing our thoughts and physical identity are genuine, but they don't give us spiritual ecstasy. We don't have to leave our home, go to church, or go on a pilgrimage, because all we have to do is leave our mind and alter our consciousness to experience beyond our normal routine and perception. As the deep perception of the universe comes alive and conscious, we interact with it, so it is called awakening, because it has always been there and we became aware of it. Osho said, ecstasy is our very nature, and not to be ecstatic is simply unnecessary. To be ecstatic is natural, spontaneous. It needs no effort to be ecstatic. It needs great effort to be miserable. That is why you look so tired, because misery is real hard work. To maintain it is really difficult because you are doing something against your nature. In a 2009 Pew survey, half of all respondents said they experienced a religious or mystical experience in a moment of insight or awakening. Even people with no religious affiliation, atheists and agnostics, had the experience. When universal consciousness is allowed to flow through us, free, open, and unrestricted, ecstasy happens. It is an awareness people call mysticism, transcendent, spiritual experience, or ecstatic, because the experience is too deep for words. Young people think ecstasy is the drug, MSMA, or getting high and feeling happy. Originally, it meant ecstasis, which means a brief period when a person is outside his accustomed self and feels a connection to everything. Jesus said it is a connection to the Father when we shift from the ego to the divinity within. Some say it is the innermost essence that is beyond the ego, so it is in and open to everyone. Plato said, those who are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed by the masses. Nisargadatta said, once you realize that all comes from within, that the world in which you live is not projected upon you, but by you, your fear comes to an end. That is why Carl Jung said, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Our mind is a garden, so our thoughts are the seeds. That is why Jung said is right, because we choose what seeds we plant in our mind. We can plant love or negativity and fear, but our garden will only expand and thrive if we vibrate higher with love. Because we put our ideas and thoughts in order to align with our consciousness and stop being jealous, caring about other gardens, because we can grow our own garden, so our mind expands. Our garden attracts butterflies and bliss to our interior, our most important part, which is at peace. Our mental chatter stops and we are no longer lost in thinking as our body and mind fall away, and we are ecstatically in love, as pleasant as a butterfly. Being enthusiastic is our nature, and we find it when we are present in the moment and leave our mind. We all have the urge to be transcendent, but we need to do it in a healthy way with natural spiritual ecstasy and not the substance MSMA, which can be toxic. We can lose our mind by being absorbed in an activity in the zone of sports, music, or a walk in nature. And the absorption gives us a peak experience as consciousness is shifted from the self. Don't expect an ecstatic experience every time you go to a concert, movie, dance, or mountain bike. Just like you are not ecstatic with every meditation. Rumi said the flute is totally empty. It is the breath that flows through, sings and dances. To be empty is not emptiness. The Heart Sutra says, the form may be empty of self, but it's full of everything else. The Dalai Lama says, as your insight into the ultimate nature is deepened and enhanced, you will develop a perception of reality from which you will perceive phenomena and events as sort of illusory. And that move of perceiving reality will permeate all your interactions and with reality. Osho said, once you know that bliss is coming from your own core, possessiveness disappears. Then you love and you don't demand. Then you love and there are no conditions in it. Thank you.